Alright, so this is the second video in my 1 month Shroom Binge series trilogy thing, right? And this is just going to be talking about the 2 to 3 week period where I was actively dosing like every 2 or 3 days, right? I was taking at least an eighth every 2 or 3 days. Um, so I have some of the details from these trips written down, and I'm just going to try to tell these in the best order that I can remember, right? Because it's been a while and I don't really remember how all of these went, like, happened, right? I don't remember the series of events perfectly. But, I have some things written down that are very accurate, though. So, 3 days after my first trip, I took 4 grams, which is just a little bit more than my last trip. I took like it was like a little bit less than a gram more than my last trip. Um, so it was half of a full 8 gram pack or 5 gummies. And it was an intense experience, but it wasn't it wasn't so crazy that it put me off to shrooms completely, right? Um, I remember I'm pretty sure the first thing, like the first major thing that happened, right, was like this rapidly building pressure in my head, right? It was just this pressure that started off kind of lightly, and then it built and built and built and built and built, and it just kept building until eventually it kind of felt like my head just like burst. It didn't like really feel like it burst, and I knew it. I knew it didn't burst. I wasn't like scared of it or anything, but it was just like this strange sensation that it did burst. It was kind of cool though. I remember, I believe shortly after that, I felt for the first time this like feminine entity's presence, right? I don't really know how to explain how that feels like it, because it's not something that I visually see. It is like it's just like a presence that I feel. It's very weird. And I haven't felt that in a while, but I have gotten that on a couple of different trips, and I will talk about that a bit more in this video. But I remember I felt it, and it was pretty intense. It was very cool to feel it for the first time too. It was, I don't know. It's weird. It's so weird. But I remember seeing my face like wobble around when I would look at it in the mirror and like move my face around. It was funny. Um, I remember like seeing it like morph and twist while I wasn't moving, which again I had not seen on my first trip. I wasn't looking at myself on my first trip. Um, I remember I'm pretty sure that this was the first time where my AC's like sound changed, right? Because I have an AC in my room because it gets really fucking hot in my room no matter what time of year. If I turn this AC off right now and close my window, it'll get like 85 degrees outside. Not outside. It'll get like 85 degrees in here, and it's like 15 degrees outside, if that, right now. But yeah, no. So this is just what my fan sounds like normally, right? It's just normal. It just sounds like a normal fan, right? Um, yeah, no. If I take a decent enough dose of shrooms, that starts sounding, it like the pitch starts changing and like sliding up and down and shit. It sounds like somebody's taking a pitch slider and just going up and down with it while the fan's going. It's so weird, but I don't really remember the series of events in this trip. So, but I do just remember that I did end up hopping on Roblox and playing with a couple of my friends around the end of the trip until I came down. Um, Very cool experience. Again, it didn't put me off to shrooms at all. Even though it was a very intense experience, I do remember like I was a little bit like scared at some points because it was more intense than last time, of course, and like I didn't really know what to expect, right? But it wasn't bad. It wasn't that bad. Um, so I do believe 2 days later, I took another 4 gram dose that I remember less of. I'm not gonna lie, but I do remember that it was a little bit less scary. Like I didn't have any of those like scared moments that I did from the one previous that I just mentioned. I remember the feminine presence, the like feminine entities presence thing that I mentioned was there too. I just don't really remember. how strong it was, like how there it felt, right? And I do remember it ending with playing Roblox, right? Just again, same, pretty much the same thing as last time, right? Um, but I do remember I did get a unique effect here for I saw this for the first time, which is very cool. I remember seeing like, so I have a TV that I play games on, right? Sometimes I do have a monitor, but I have a TV that I play them on sometimes, and I used to only have the TV. Um, and this was when I only had the TV. So I was playing fucking Roblox on a TV. Horrible experience, by the way. 0 out of 10. Don't do it. Especially because it's on my desk right in front of my face, bro. It's not fun. It's not fun, but that's beside the point. Um, Holy voice crack. Um, it's so like the TV filled to stretch like my vision's borders, right? And it was all I could see, and it didn't really look like I was in the game, but it kind of looked like I was in the game. Like it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. It wasn't. Again, it wasn't like I was literally in the game. It was just all I could see. It was very cool. But yeah, for the most part, it was very very similar to the other 4 gram trip, just toned down a little bit. Um, but this positive experience really reinforced that I got that. I can handle this shit. So I decided that I would increase my dose again to 7 gummies or 5.6 grams. Now, if you know anything about shrooms, you know that 5 grams is a heroic dose. 5 grams is fucking nuts. 5 grams is more than you'll ever really need, let's be real. Um, I actually do remember this quite well, thankfully. I don't remember how, like, again, I don't remember the order of events, unfortunately, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best. So I remember I was going to take 6, but decided on 7, which is the amount of gummies. I was going to take 6 gummies, but decided 7, just because I really thought, oh, I can handle this. It'll be okay. So about 15 minutes later, I hit that yawn, that deep guttural yawn that really lets you know that you're in for a fun time. And about 10 minutes later, that yawn was definitely a good warning, let's just say. It was very strong. Very, 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 very strong. Um I remember being extremely anxious on the come up because it was just so intense. It was so fucking intense. It was this body high absolutely flooring me, paired with these visuals that I don't really remember how the visuals were acting up until a certain point, but like I do know they were intense, and I like none of my thoughts were just correct at all. And because of how intense, I don't know if it was because of how intense everything was or for some other reason, but I started just having these rushes of thoughts of all of my problems and insecurities and just everything that I've done wrong in life, right? And there was just a core central thought that was there in the middle of like all of these thoughts, right? And it's just I'm such a bad person, right? And it stayed. It stayed throughout the whole trip, just that one core thought. And occasionally I would say this out loud, but not very often. Like I would say it out loud without really like without wanting to, without meaning to. And the like it like those thoughts and all that shit just kept building, right? And building and building and building and building and building. It was really fucking bad on the come up, I'm not gonna lie. The come up was miserable. But eventually I did hit my peak. And for a minute or two while I was supposed to be peaking, suddenly I was just dead sober. Like I didn't have a single visual. There was like no, I didn't feel anything weird about my body. There was no body high at all, and I wasn't really having any weird thoughts. Just the continued thoughts of how bad I was, but in a more lucid state, right? And so I was fully taking in like all of these thoughts of myself and just all of these things that I I believed that because had happened to me or because I had done, I was just an awful person. I just had all of these thoughts about it, right? Just over and over and over again. While again in a like sober state. So I was fully absorbing it, and it was not fucking fun. But eventually I did, like, the trip hit me again. All right. I don't know why it did that. If that's ever happened to any of you guys, like, genuine, this is not engagement bait. Please tell me about this, because I don't think I've ever read any other trip reports where somebody just stops tripping like that and then just continues like nothing ever happened. So if that has ever happened to you, I would love to hear about that, please. But yeah, so yeah, after that state where I was sober, fully absorbing all of the information about how bad I was or whatever, right? I started tripping again. And I just laid back in my bed, right? Cuz I knew I was just going to have to wait it out. And I have LED lights in my room on like on my ceiling, right? Like across the ceiling. You've all seen LED lights. We all know how they fucking look. Um so I was looking at the LED lights, and I noticed they start slowly expanding, and eventually they all form these like pillars of light that are all the same length. Um and something just in my mind tells me that they're sentient and they're watching me, and because they're all the exact same, and they're all in like a very uniform row on my seat. Well, I mean, of course it's like they're in the same arrangement as my LED lights. They are my LED lights, but they look, something about them looks or feels intelligent. I don't really know. And there it was also accompanied by the female presence that I had mentioned earlier. That was building stronger than it ever had up until it became all encompassing, and it felt like it was like holding me, almost like it felt like it was like giving me a fucking hug. It was something. It was something. um I did eventually start coming down like 2 hours later. The trip was very fucking long. Like I was peaking for like 2 hours. It was I was, I don't want to say miserable, because not all of it was miserable. It was very, very, very cool throughout a lot of it, but there were some parts of it, man, some parts of it, and again, it was just very long. But on the come down, I played Roblox with my friends. I played Roblox on my friends with the come down very, very often. Um, Eventually, after I had pretty much like fully come down, I decided to finish the rest of the pack, which was 2.4 grams left. Um, I, I, my thought process was like, oh, if I took this by itself later on, I wouldn't be able to trip, so I'll just take it right now. It's whatever. Um, it didn't do very much because I had just tripped, and my tolerance it had to have already been through the roof at this point, but I did trip a little bit off of it. But I ended up managing to go to sleep off of it. That was very fun. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking that night. That I don't know what was going through my head that night. I don't know, bro. Just that shit was a mess. That shit was a mess. But yeah, that's the like 2 or 3 weeks where I was actively binging shrooms, taking them very, very often, more often than I should have, and in significantly higher quantities than I should have. Um, Now it was a fun experience, but it wasn't worth it at all, like at fucking all. Um, this was where I had started to develop HPPD, which, if you don't know, is hallucinogen or hallucination persisting perception disorder, which is um, it's a visual disorder where you still have like slight visuals from like psychedelic experiences, right? I don't know why I struggled so hard to describe that, but yeah, that's basically what it is. Most people describe like visual snow, so like seeing static in their vision or whatever, or like seeing lights get brighter or whatever, or sometimes like people mention like colors are brighter. Um I got very unlucky with my HPPD with my HPPD debuff, right? Um I like when even when I'm sober, get like full on visuals, kind of like I'm tripping off of a small dose. It doesn't bother me, and it's also started to die out significantly. It's not that bad anymore, but it used to be pretty fucking bad. Um, but yeah, I used to see it. I used to have pretty bad HPPD. Because of this experience, because of this month where I had just gone fucking nuts. I went ham on shrooms for some reason, and I saw the consequences. I definitely saw the consequences for a little bit, but this wasn't even the dumbest shit that I did during this. 8 days later, I did something very. Uh, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. That's where I'll put it. I think it was 8 days later. I think it was 8 days later, but either way, that is for the next video in the series. I did something very, very stupid, and I'm surprised I got out of it as fine as I did. But again, that is for another video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. The next video should come out within a couple of days. And yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching.